Hi everybody, it's Raina. Today we're gonna do a short little video. I don't know how long it's gonna be. It's gonna be very informal, as you can tell. I'm wearing my jacket and just kind of hanging around today. It's my day off on one of my jobs, so I just figured I'd make this video because, with the work that I do and some of the events coming up, people are constantly asking me what IAM is all about and what the path. When I talk about the path to IAM. I've done this video many times before in the past, over the last 12 years of doing podcasting and over the last 20 something years of doing my work. I've mentioned this many times, but as usual, there are new people, and new people always want to figure out and find out what it means. So I figured I'd do an updated version 2024. Like I said, this is going to be very informal. So the path to IAM, if you're not familiar with it, is basically like a way of being. It means to become. So when you say I am, that means that you are becoming an idea, or you becoming whatever it is, the thought process that you want to be. So if I say I am one, I am love, I am everything, or I'm the earth, or I'm the fire, wind, or whatever it is I want to be, when my words and my vibrations start to change and start to manifest whatever it is that I am. So most of us, it becomes where a lot of us, when you become I am, it is a very introspective along with outrospective perspective, meaning that when we start to become something, we start to go within to look and to see and to experience within. We realize that everything that we are out here is just part of the experience of what we're experiencing in here. And so that's why so many of us have a hard time with the world, is because we experience what we're feeling inside. And that's why I always tell people, even my students and clients and everything, I'm always like, well, when they start telling me about their lives, I kind of, it's not hard to figure out, because whatever I am saying I am, that's what I am experiencing without as well. And the path to I am is also observing all your experiences. And what that means is that we've heard before through other practices that, we are the observer. This body, this character that we're playing is just a personality. It doesn't exist. There's a much smarter version of me, a more wise version of me. And this character called Raina is just a character here that is placed here to experience. And even though it is here to experience the power of I am, and to relearn, to regrow, to go within, and to understand who I am during this time. And what I mean by this is that during this time doesn't mean just this lifetime. It means in this present moment, because as we know, our lives constantly change, they grow, time periods change as decades go, and you have to evolve with that. And the great thing about that is that you can, every day, you can always experience a different portion of I am. When you're observing all things and all the experiences, I got an eyelash in my eye. If you guys ever have long eyelashes, it's terrible to have. Everyone's like, oh, I love your eyelashes, but they get in my eye all the time. But when you're experiencing all things throughout, and you're experiencing everything within, you start to have a bigger understanding of not only life, but what's going on in your life as well, and why the world is the way it is. And this is hard for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't follow the path to I am. Most people say, well, I want this, or I wish this, or I hope this, I need this. And what that creates is a vibrational pattern of I want, I need, I hope, I wish this, and we never really see it to come to fruition, or it comes in a different way that maybe isn't really truly what we wanted. And that is because that type of vibration is matching the vibration that you are. And so it always, I've had so many clients over the last 25 years come to me and say, well, Raina, for so long I've tried to do manifestation. I've tried to do, I've always said, well, I want this to happen. I need this to happen. Oh, I so wish this would happen to me. And it never comes to me. Well, and that is because we're creating that pattern. We're creating that vibration of always wanting something. So it's never going to come to us because we're no longer I am. We're no longer becoming that idea. We're no longer living that idea as it's happening now. We're creating a vibration that it's always out there. It's always something outside of us that's waiting to come to us. And in that moment, that is always what we're going to experience. And I know that so many of you go through this on a daily basis, and I have people reach out to me all the time. And this is a perspective that we need to change. I am means that, that we're becoming conscious of who we are. And this is hard for a lot of people. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of us, we're not aware of who we are or what's going on as much as we like to think that we're aware. The truth is we're not. And, and humanity is, we are not aware for a reason. There's a purpose to that. Many of us will never be aware because we're guided by our life blueprint. We're guided by a certain fate that we have to go through in order for us to experience certain things so that later on we become aware. And free will is not really much of a thing. A lot of people like to think that free will is a great thing because it makes you feel like you have exercise of choice, but there is a lot, especially for the younger souls, that don't have free will. And we all don't have free will to some point, because when we become conscious of that, we become aware that there are certain things that we have to follow. Like I always give the example, no matter how much throughout my life, there's been time periods where I didn't want to do this because it felt like a lot of responsibility. It felt like a lot of weight on my shoulder that, when my guide said, well, Raina, this is who you are, and this is what, and you're going to teach people about this stuff, and you're going to try, and a lot of people aren't going to like you for it, and they're going to turn on you. And in America, it's very hard here, and I experience that all the time. Well, who wants that, especially as a child? So when we become conscious and we become this, we realize that there are certain paths and certain things that are going to happen to us, and there are certain things that we can't escape. And this, for me, is one of them. No matter how much I've tried to escape this path of I am, it's always brought me back to where I am right now. And whether in this moment I'm a teacher, or whether I'm in this moment as a student, because we're all both teachers and students at all points, whether I'm a softball player or a pool player in these moments, or whether I'm, suffering through, to evolving consciousness, or whether I'm, on a masculine energy of going out and accomplishing things, to become conscious is to become aware of self. And that's part of the I am, because when we say that I am, we realize that the personality that we are is momentarily, and this momentarily, this moment of what we're doing is important because it's teaching us who we are and what our experiences are. Now, this is where that idea of, well, if we're not aware, we're constantly stuck in these moments. And so if I take, most people are doing, they're saying, they're acting, thinking in an unaware state. And this is why there's so much chaos. This is why there's so much suffering. Let me tell you guys first that suffering is necessary. is, we like to think in this idea of separation that positive and negative means good and bad, and it doesn't. There is no such thing as negative energy as far as like bad, evil. There's no such thing as positive energy as in good and the right way. It is polarity, because in this idea of unity, we needed to become dualistic. We needed to separate ourselves from ourselves so that we can experience other perspectives. And that in that mindset, we have a positive and negative. The positive is the masculine energy. The negative is the feminine energy. And that doesn't mean that women and femininity is bad. And that in our society, especially American society, we really have an issue here with gender, and it's a male-dominated society. And I'm not going to get into that stuff, but we do have an issue here where, and I experience this all the time, especially in sports. And even in spirituality, there is a lot of times you'll see, like I won't get, speaking gigs and different things. And so we have this idea, and this is created by this idea. And so when we start to become this idea of separation, and we start to see this idea, well, negative means bad and positive means good, and I need to be positive all the time, and I can't be negative, then what we're doing is we're not conscious, we're not aware, we're doing and saying and acting things unawarely, because we don't understand that we need every side. We need the suffering, we need the happiness, we need the grief, we need, the dopamine, we need all these different ideas, we need all this to experience life as it is. Unfortunately, like I said, most of us run away from our feelings. We run away from, the pain and suffering because we don't want to experience it. But if we go into that, if we become that pain and suffering, and we realize that pain and suffering is needed so that we can grow. And then what ends up happening, and I tell people this all the time, is pain and suffering, yes, is needed, but it doesn't have to be all the time. You can go into the feminine aspect, which is reflective, introspective, and time for rest and digest, without pain and suffering. What causes the pain and suffering is the inability for you to recognize self or to recognize the situation, and we take things personally. We take things and we say this is done to me instead of done for me. And so this creates a thought pattern, which is important. This creates a thought pattern of chaos and destruction because we become imbalanced. Remember that in a dualistic idea, the whole point to everything is to become neutral. We need neutrality in order for us to see both perspectives. Yes, we might lean sometimes into the negative aspect, the feminine aspect for a little while, and then we need to come back to neutrality. And sometimes the masculine energy, and then we need to, if we're on one side or the other, we can't get the full perspective because we're constantly trying to lean ourselves. And this is what caused chaos, because the universe says, well, we need to be in harmony, and we need to snap you back. And this sometimes is when, great chaos happens within our life. But I want you guys, we're at 13 minutes, so I don't want to go too much longer. But, your thought process is what tells you about yourself. So I bring up social media all the time because it's the greatest example of what it shows about who you are. And so I always tell you, if you really want to learn about who you are, for most people, because there are people on there that pretend to be something and they're not in real life. I've met many people, they'll promote peace and love all day on social media, and then I meet them in person. I do events with them, and they're judgmental and angry, and they're closed-minded to everything, and everything has to be their way. But for most people, you're going to see who they really are. And what I mean by this is that if you're posting one time on Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, whatever you guys use, to love and be yourself and all these different ideas, and then the next day you're trying to show how tough you are. Well, if anyone messes with me, if I'm not the one who's gonna, don't let anyone put you down because you're tougher, and you start to have to prove yourself. Well, then you don't believe in love. You don't believe in understanding. You don't believe in compassion. You're not I am. You believe in anger and fear. And because the emotionally charged part of you, which always counters the momentary parts, because deep down you may know, hey, yes, it is, we need to love, we need to accept, we need that. But if you're out there the next minute trying to prove how tough you are, to show that no one's going to mess with you, it shows that there's a lot of anger behind you and there's a lot of fear, because when we have to prove ourselves, that means that we don't really believe in ourselves. And so the I am is being I am fear, I am anger, because I am afraid of society, I'm afraid of people, I have to prove myself. And even though I'm posting these loves, it's not really what I believe, it's the thought process that I'm trying to believe. And I know that this is something that I need to become, but I'm not ready to become that. I'm still living in anger, fear, sadness, grief, whatever it is. And so I want you guys to realize that the path of I am is really about, it's really about recognizing yourself as God. If that offends you, if that word offends you, that you could say universe, source, you could say unity, whatever you want to say. In our society, especially American society, we are a Christian and Puritan dominant base society, and so many of us, we had Easter come around. And people believe that a God rose from the dead, and we have a big misunderstanding of what holidays are and what's going on in our world. And we've been taught through religion that that there is something out there separate from you that is much wiser than you, that's much greater than you, that's much better than you, and we're just these tiny little peons that really have no matter, that we don't matter. And it's our job to appease this God, this universe, this source, because it's going to be angry at you, it's going to punish you, you're going to go to this place called hell. And this is a very, very toxic way of thinking, and it's a very unevolved way of thinking. The path to I am recognizes that, when we're on this path, we start to dissolve these belief systems, because we start to say, well, if I really am this idea we call God, source, universe, then that means I have the power to create. I have the power to do whatever I want. Yes, we still have, our fate as far as what we write in our blueprints, but and we need that fate to become that idea of God and that. And so in those moments, we hand over our power, because we say, well, there's something out there that's running the show. There's something out there. And religion has told us for many thousands of years, don't say that, don't do that. In our society, even when I bring this up, I guarantee you, if I say I'm God, a lot of you will start to push back, and you'll feel something in your chest, because the brain says, wait a minute, Raina's not supposed to say that. That's wrong. And that's society telling you that, you have been conditioned to this idea that there's something else out there bigger than you, better than you, more powerful than you, and you're just happy to be here, and you're supposed to live this right way of life, and supposed to walk this fine line. And if you don't, then there's always this God or karma out there that's going to punish you. And if you're religious, you'll go to hell. And if you're spiritual, you'll come back and get punished and do it over and over until you get it right. And this is just a very, our way of thinking needs to evolve into a better understanding of what is really going on. And that's the greatest thing about being on this path to I am, is I am dissolves all belief systems. It allows you to open up to yourself, which is you, God, the universe, everything and anything that exists. You're the plant, you're the earth, you're the fire, wind, fire, wind, water. You're the animals, you're the tree, you're everything. And in that moment, you can gather the codes and the information that's here for you, because there's information everywhere around you. And that leaves you open to always expanding. The last thing I'm going to say is the great thing about expansion, about self-expansion, is that when you dissolve these belief systems that were created here with the illusions through society to trap you into this chaos, to trap you into suffering and this separation that you are one, that you're not one, that you have no power. The greatest thing about that is that there's so much more information out there. There's so much more like just to learn. There's so much wisdom in this universe, and every day I wake up learning something new. Every day I experience something different, and even if I've experienced something before, I experience it in a different way that allows new information to come in. And so, you know, it's this power of realizing, and you kind of let things go. Like, yeah, you know, we still have our personalities. I still get mad. I still have my temper, you know, which I work through very hard. But there's a lot more acceptance today because I've realized that I am everything. I am all these things. And even I am all these people, these perspectives of me experiencing something. And that allows me to have compassion for myself, because I'm like, well, even though I see this person as separate, that person is me, and they're experiencing something differently than me. And so I want to understand myself through that anger, through that limitation, through this, so that I can learn to grow. And to me, that's, guys, honestly, that's a wonderful thing. Like this idea of realizing that you are this idea of unity, this God, this universe, this source that has created a dualistic experience, and created this third dimension so that we can come here, that we're everywhere and anywhere at all times, but at the same time we feel separate, like we're living this life and experiencing all this different information at once, so that we can understand ourselves through experience. To me, that's just an amazing thing. So we're at 22 minutes. I want to cut this short, or cut this now. But yeah, guys, I can go on with this there's so much more to the path of I Am. I'm just giving you a light overlay of everything. But if this is becoming interesting to you guys, please reach out to me. I am always looking for people that are ready to evolve, and it doesn't matter what state you're in or country, because that connection of I Am, that consciousness that's evolving here through Earth is limited by distance or space or time or age. So just, it's just a great feeling. So even I lose myself sometimes, because when I start thinking about all the possibilities and all the experiences, it's just so, I don't even have the word for it. It's just such an amazing experience that sometimes I even lose myself. But all right, guys, that's today's video. So I hope you guys learned a little something. I'm going to try to do more of these little videos for this, for our pages and everything like that, aside from our podcast. If you guys still haven't followed our podcast, it's the IAMevolution podcast. Our old show that ran for over 12 years, I think we still have some of the episodes up on YouTube. It's called Transcendental Transformation, but a lot of the shows we're going to redo, a lot of the blogs, since we have a new website and everything like that, IAMevolution33.com. The old website, soulandspiritguide.com, is gone, and we're just going to redo a lot of things. We're going to do a lot of updating with things, because it's just... it's just time. At one point I thought that if I matched you guys and I was like, oh, I talked about positive and negative as the understanding that was here on Earth, that it would connect to people, but that never really sat with me. I did it because I thought that's what would work, and for the time it did. But now I realize that that's past that point, and so we need to evolve past that. And I'm going to work with the people that really want the to evolve. And I hope that we as a community can bring more consciousness to the earth, because as much as I'm having these experiences, I want to know what your experiences are too. And what a lovely thing, right? So, all right, guys, that's it for this episode. Yeah, give me a shout out if you guys want to. All right, guys, have a good one.